Hello everyone. We were discussing about participatory environment, which is one of the types of environment in school and classroom. We saw that participation by itself has little meaning, and we considered it as an ideological framework, which is also a political construct. We discussed that India is one of the largest and oldest democracies in the world, and this curricular framework is built on the understanding of this foundation, and our curriculum promotes that value of democracy wherever possible. And education is defined as the fabric of a nation and has the capacity to provide each child a positive experience of democratic functioning. Since education is defined as the fabric of a nation, the kind of education that is provided in a state, in a country, play a lot of role and can be effective in changing the way the students or our citizens look at the concept of democratic functioning. Now let us move ahead and discuss few more things under the concept of participatory environment. Participatory environment helps in adding a new vibrancy to our culture of egalitarianism, democracy, secularism, and equality. Egalitarianism is nothing but an opportunity, an equal opportunity that is given to all the stakeholders of the country, of the state, and if we talk about a very closed situation of a school and a classroom. We all are aware of the concept of democracy, so also is secularism, and we have a very good idea of what equality is as we have discussed this point in the previous lecture. Now, environment of unhealthy competition in the schools promotes values that are antithesis of the values enshrined in our constitution. Because our constitution believes in harmony, our constitution believes in equality. So if you are promoting unhealthy competition in the school, we should avoid that and instead convert these competitions into a healthy one wherein the competition is not between two people, but the competition is with oneself. In order to improve oneself, a person is putting in more efforts. And then you look at the other person who is doing good, get inspired from that other person instead of putting that other person down in order for you to win. So that's how we can differentiate between an unhealthy and a healthy competition. Healthy competition is the one wherein we look at our faults and we try and improve on them and we look at someone who is doing better than us and get inspired from them. And an unhealthy competition would be wherein people try to put down the other person or somehow devoid them of their what you call deserving rights or deserving perks that they have because of the quality that they deserve, and we deny them of those what you call maybe opportunities. Okay, so we should be able to differentiate between healthy and unhealthy competition, and we should promote healthy competition in our schools because that will instill in them the values which are enshrined in our constitution like equality. Now, a positive experience of democracy and democratic participation must be provided. Now, when we talk about a positive experience of democracy and democratic participation, we mean that as teachers, if we apply this concept to our school and classroom environment, as teachers, we have a very significant role to play wherein we will indirectly teach our students how to be democratic and how to provide people, as in the students in the school and the classroom, that democratic, what you call the feeling. Okay, so it's very important to be unbiased, to give each one or each student of your class that feeling of equality, that they are treated equally, and it has to be done consciously. Okay, not even a moment, not even for a moment, you should make even one of the child in the classroom feel that you are being biased to someone or some of the students. So you have to be very careful about that because it is the last thing as a teacher you are supposed to do. This experience must actively engage children and young people in ways that encourage values of inclusion, eventually leading the way to the realization of the vision of a participatory democracy. So this is what we were discussing. So as teachers, it's our major role to engage the children in such activities wherein you are giving an impression or you're actually practicing that values of inclusion, wherein you do not deny anyone, any student, irrespective of how good they are in their studies, how well they are performing, and apart maybe other factors which are always sometimes used for what you call distinguishing between students, like their caste, creed, religion sometimes. You have to be very careful that you do not do it in your classroom and provide them that experience that each one is valued and each student of the class is considered an equal or and a significant part of your school or sometimes your classroom. In order to make the school environment supportive of children, there are institutionalized structures. Now, which are these institutionalized structures I'm talking about? The first one is Parent-Teacher Association, wherein we call it a PTA, isn't it? Parent-Teacher Association, wherein the parents and teachers they form a committee, they come in association with each other, and they work towards the betterment of the school and of the students. Local level committees wherein the school gets in contact with the committees or institutions or organizations like NGOs, sometimes the panchayat, and work for the betterment of the area in which the school is located and also for the betterment of the school. And alumni associations in some schools wherein the students who have excelled or who have passed out from the institution and have reached a position in the society or are trying to make their mark in the society, they come together and they work for the betterment of the school. In events held to celebrate national festivals and other occasions, such as Cultural Day and Sports Day, most schools invite parents to participate. So this is a way of involving parents and teachers and increasing their interaction with each other so that that gap between the school and home is reduced, because in a way it is going to impact the education of the students and the kind of education that is provided in the school, because parents also understand or they get an opportunity to look at the school environment and classroom environment very closely. By inviting alumni and local residents also, the importance of the school as a community site can increase. A school is a public place. It's a place where knowledge is imparted. It's a place where students' future is built. So school is in a way considered a community site wherein which is a responsibility. A school is a responsibility not only of the management and the teachers who work there or of the head of the institution, but it is a responsibility of the community. So when you convert your school into a community site, in a way you are making each of the stakeholders accountable for the safety and for the betterment of that given institution. Now, community involvement can also be sought for maintaining the school and its facilities, as we have just discussed, but it must not mean the economic burdening of poor families. Now, in order to improve your school, or if you are planning to come up with a new building for the students, it is not that involvement of parents doesn't mean asking for money, okay, and or maybe economically burdening the students, like sometimes many schools ask for donations from the parents. So it is not about that. It is about the support in every form that is possible by the parents is sought, but not always the economic burdening of poor families. We should not burden the poor families for contributing some amount because their child is studying in the school. This literature doesn't talk about that. It talks about community involvement in whichever way that is possible for the stakeholders of that institution. School space can be shared with the community for local events, and there will be some collective responsibility in maintaining its premises. As we have discussed earlier, if we try and convert our school space into a community site which can be used for local events and which can be held in a premises of a school, which are sometimes educational programs, sometimes religious programs, which can be held in the premises of an institution, should be allowed because it involves the community in the school and they also are considered responsible for maintaining its premises. So this was all about the participatory environment that we just discussed. Now, there are certain essential environmental considerations of school. What are those things that we need to take care of when we talk about school's environment or classroom environment, and when we talk about ideal school and classroom environment, what are those things that we need to take care of, which are called environmental considerations? Okay, so the first point is adequate space and opportunities, appearance of the school, adequate natural lighting that enhances productivity, student-friendly conditions. So we have discussed all these 4 points in detail while we were discussing those 3 types of environment, that is physical, psychological and participatory. So I will not go in much detail with these points. Good teachers support their retention. It is comfortable and has a consistent temperature and manages noise. The school should be clean and sanitary. So apart from having adequate space, proper appearance, adequate natural lighting, student-friendly conditions, we also need to have good teachers. We also need to have resources that will support or practices that will support students' retention. We should have a comfortable environment with consistent temperature and something which can manage the noise around the school, because sometimes the schools are located in a highly noisy area, and cleanliness and the sanitation, that is a school which is sanitary. So it is very important that such environmental considerations are taken care of. Now, why is restoration essential? Now, when I talk about the school situations that are prevailing in our country, most of the schools do not have the basic environmental considerations that we were just discussing. So in this particular concept of restoration, we will see why it is important, or why are we talking about, why are we giving so much of importance to the concept of environment of a school and environment of a classroom, why and how it can help improve the teaching and learning process or the quality of education, which every policy talks about and which is also a concern of the current education system. So we'll discuss why restoration of such an environment is important in our next lecture. So if you have any queries regarding the points that we discussed about participatory environment and certain essential environmental considerations, you can ask it in the chat box. Thank you.